How ancient humans survived the coldest winters on Earth. Imagine opening your eyes tomorrow morning to a house that's colder inside than outside. No heater, no electric blanket, no insulated jacket, no grocery store, no food delivery arriving with something hot. Just frozen air filling your lungs and the unsettling realization that surviving until spring is no longer guaranteed. Now imagine that isn't an emergency. It's simply how life has always been. For hundreds of thousands of years, that was normal. Every winter demanded a choice: adapt or disappear. Long before cities, electricity, or even agriculture, human beings faced seasons capable of wiping out entire populations. Yet somehow they endured. Not only did they endure, they spread across continents covered in snow and ice. During the peak of the last ice age, around 20,000 years ago, Earth's average temperature was roughly 6 degrees Celsius colder than today. That number sounds surprisingly small until you realize it completely transformed the planet. Vast glaciers buried enormous regions of Europe, North America, and Asia beneath walls of ice stretching for thousands of kilometers. Coastlines looked nothing like modern maps. Sea levels were more than 100 meters lower, exposing huge land bridges that have long since vanished beneath the ocean. Across these frozen landscapes roamed woolly mammoths, giant cave bears, woolly rhinoceroses, steppe bison, reindeer, and cave lions larger than any lion alive today. Every hunt carried enormous rewards and enormous risks. One mistake could mean starvation. One successful kill could keep an entire community alive for weeks. So how did ancient humans survive winters that would overwhelm most modern people? The answer begins with something so familiar that it's easy to underestimate: fire. Humans had already mastered fire long before the harshest Ice Age winters arrived. Archaeological discoveries at Wonderwerk Cave in South Africa suggest controlled fire may have been used nearly 1 million years ago. By the time glacial climates dominated much of the world, fire wasn't an invention anymore. It had become the foundation of human survival. Most people think fire simply provided warmth. It did much more. Cooking transformed hard-to-digest food into energy the body could absorb far more efficiently. Evolutionary biologist Richard Wrangham argues that cooking helped fuel the growth of the human brain by reducing the energy required for digestion. In a sense, fire allowed humans to trade stronger stomachs for larger minds. Flames also drove predators away. Sleeping beside a burning fire dramatically reduced encounters with dangerous carnivores that prowled after dark. While cave lions, wolves, and hyenas could overpower an individual human, few animals willingly approached a roaring blaze. Fire strengthened wooden spears by hardening their tips. It dried wet clothing before moisture became deadly. It illuminated long winter nights, creating spaces where stories, skills, and survival knowledge could pass from one generation to the next. Most importantly, it made shelters livable. Losing the community's fire during a snowstorm could easily become a death sentence. Protecting the flame may have been one of the most valuable responsibilities within an Ice Age camp. Warmth wasn't a luxury, it was civilization itself. When people picture prehistoric homes, they usually imagine families hiding inside random caves. Reality was far more sophisticated. Caves certainly offered excellent protection. Deep chambers stayed at relatively stable temperatures throughout the year, shielding people from freezing winds that often proved deadlier than the cold itself. But caves weren't available everywhere. Animals migrated, food sources shifted, people followed. Whenever natural shelters disappeared, humans built their own. Excavations across Europe revealed carefully organized living spaces complete with central hearths, sleeping areas, places for preparing food, and sections reserved for crafting tools. These weren't temporary hideouts, they were planned homes. Some of the most astonishing discoveries come from Eastern Europe, where archaeologists uncovered circular houses constructed almost entirely from mammoth bones. At sites such as Megafauna in present-day Ukraine, hundreds of mammoth skulls, ribs, tusks, and leg bones were carefully arranged into strong frameworks before being covered with animal hides. Inside these structures, researchers found fireplaces, food remains, and evidence of everyday family life. Think about what that required. No sawmills, no steel, no concrete, No architectural textbooks, only stone tools, enormous bones, and enough engineering knowledge to transform the remains of giant animals into durable winter shelters. That wasn't primitive construction, it was remarkable problem-solving. Surviving winter also depended on something modern survival shows often ignore. No one survived alone. Hunter-gatherer communities usually consisted of several dozen people connected through larger regional networks. Every member contributed knowledge that increased everyone else's chances of reaching spring. Some individuals became expert hunters, others understood animal migration. Some specialized in making tools, others knew where edible roots remained hidden beneath frozen soil. Elders carried memories of previous harsh winters, knowledge impossible to replace if it disappeared. Stories shared around evening fires weren't merely entertainment, they preserved practical information. Which valleys still held game during deep snow? Which rivers froze safely enough to cross? Which plants remained edible after heavy frost? Each story became a lesson disguised as memory. An experienced elder wasn't simply another mouth to feed. They were living survival archives. Clothing represented another extraordinary breakthrough. Humans are poorly equipped for freezing climates compared with most mammals. Without insulation, body heat escapes rapidly, and hypothermia follows surprisingly fast. Evidence from the evolution of body lice suggests people began regularly wearing clothing around 170,000 years ago. By the Upper Paleolithic, clothing technology had become astonishingly advanced. Bone needles discovered across Europe and Siberia are so delicate that recreating them with Stone Age tools challenges skilled craftspeople even today. At the famous Sunghir burial site in Russia, archaeologists uncovered garments decorated with thousands of tiny ivory beads carefully sewn into clothing. Reconstructions suggest layered outfits remarkably similar to modern cold weather systems. A close inner layer trapped warmth. An insulating middle layer reduced heat loss. A durable outer hide blocked wind and moisture. Thousands of years before synthetic fabrics, ancient people had already discovered the same principles outdoor survival experts recommend today. Preparing those hides demanded patience. Using the animal's own brain mixed with water, they softened leather through a process now known as brain tanning. The result produced flexible, durable material suitable for boots, gloves, cloaks, blankets, and shelter coverings. Every successful hunt supplied far more than meat. It supplied protection against winter itself. Cold creates another problem many people never consider. Staying warm requires enormous amounts of energy. As temperatures fall, the human body burns dramatically more calories simply to maintain a safe internal temperature. Add hours of hunting, gathering firewood, constructing shelters, and traveling through deep snow, and daily energy demands become immense. In those conditions, food wasn't just nutrition, it was heat. Fat became the most valuable resource available. Unlike protein, fat contains more than twice as much energy per gram, making it ideal for fueling bodies exposed to relentless cold. This explains humanity's fascination with Ice Age megafauna. A single adult woolly mammoth weighed several tons and contained enormous reserves of fat and meat. One successful hunt could provide hundreds of thousands of calories, but killing such an animal required planning beyond anything a lone hunter could accomplish. Groups coordinated ambushes, they used terrain to trap animals, they communicated continuously, every participant relied on everyone else. The hunt itself demonstrated intelligence. Surviving afterward demanded even more. Without refrigerators, preserving meat became essential. Fortunately, nature provided one. Permafrost acted as an enormous natural freezer. Ancient communities buried food underground, allowing permanently frozen soil to preserve meat for weeks or even months. Other foods were dried over low fires or frozen naturally in cold air. Fat was rendered and stored inside cleaned animal organs. Some researchers believe prehistoric people even produced foods remarkably similar to pemmican, a mixture of dried meat, rendered fat, and occasionally berries capable of lasting for months while delivering huge amounts of energy. Autumn became the busiest season of the year. Families hunted relentlessly, processed meat, collected firewood, repaired clothing, expanded food stores. Every task answered the same question. Would there be enough to survive until spring? Some communities chose a different solution. Instead of enduring brutal winters where they stood, they moved. Archaeological evidence reveals repeated seasonal migrations following reindeer, bison, salmon, and other critical food sources. Stone tools made from distant rock types show people traveled hundreds of kilometers along familiar routes year after year. These journeys weren't random wandering, they reflected detailed mental maps passed between generations. People knew where rivers remained open, where valleys sheltered wildlife, where shelter could be found, where danger waited. Long before roads existed, humans had already memorized entire landscapes. Perhaps the greatest survival tool, however, wasn't fire, or clothing, or mammoth houses, it was imagination. Humans possess an unusual ability to prepare for problems that haven't happened yet. They can predict, plan, experiment, then teach others what they learned. That single ability transformed freezing winters from impossible obstacles into challenges that could be managed. The famous cave paintings at Chauvet, Lascaux, and Altamira reveal more than artistic talent. Many researchers believe these images may also have helped preserve knowledge about important animals, seasonal behavior, and successful hunting strategies. The walls became memory, memory became survival. Winter also tested the human mind. Months of darkness, hunger, and confinement could easily destroy group morale. Yet archaeological discoveries suggest ancient communities deliberately strengthened social bonds through ritual music, storytelling, and shared traditions. Bone flutes dating back around 40,000 years remind us that people living through the harshest climates still found time for music. Not because life was easy, because hope was necessary. When fear spreads through a group, survival becomes harder. When people trust one another, every challenge becomes more manageable. Perhaps that's the greatest lesson Ice Age humans leave behind. They didn't defeat winter through strength alone. They survived because they cooperated, they planned, they shared knowledge, they adapted faster than the environment could destroy them. Today, surviving winter rarely requires hunting mammoths or sleeping beside a fire that must never go out. Central heating, supermarkets, insulated clothing, and modern medicine have removed many dangers our ancestors accepted as ordinary life. Yet those comforts also hide something easy to forget. Your brain, your instincts, and your remarkable ability to solve problems were all shaped by countless generations who faced winters far harsher than anything most people will ever experience. The warmth surrounding modern life isn't what made humanity extraordinary. It was the people who learned to create that warmth from almost nothing. And perhaps that's the strangest contrast of all. Your ancestors spent every winter fighting together against a world that wanted them gone. Many people today spend theirs isolated behind warm walls, surrounded by convenience, yet struggling with loneliness, anxiety, and lives ruled by schedules instead of seasons. The cold nearly erased humanity. Comfort, in some ways, may have simply changed the challenges.